there is another section, lower income groups, who are suffering very much because of poor quality of education, and they are spending a lot of money. And nobody is observing that situation, and there is nobody to take care of that. And I feel that this education, primary education or elementary education, should not be allowed in the private hands. That is one thing I have a feeling. It should be the responsibility of the government. If government cannot say that I cannot do primary education. The government, as you are saying, that must go. Yes, government should go if it says that it cannot do primary education. And it can say that it cannot do high school education or college education, but not primary education. This is one thing. And finally, I feel that there is a need to look into the curriculum aspects also. We should not ignore completely the curriculum aspects, because the type of education we are giving, even at 5th class, 6th class, we are introducing algebra, many other things that fellow cannot write in his mother tongue. He cannot write a sentence. He cannot identify the alphabet also. We are introducing, and we are saying up to 10th class there is no failure, and it is all are they can continue to the higher classes. Non-detention system we are following. In this system, do you think that there is a need for having two types of education, in the sense that you at least see that minimum levels of learning are achieved by all these students, and those students, after getting the minimum levels of learning, if they have to go for higher education, they can learn algebra or science, algebra, all these things we can entertain, but unnecessarily don't put these things, modern algebra, set theory, all these things. Why do you put at 8th class and 7th class when he doesn't know even elementary calculations of additions and division? No student, high school student, most of the high school students, they do not know division. They can go up to addition and subtraction, nothing more than that. So I think that there is a need to look into some of these aspects in addition to the type of statistics we are getting from the nationwide surveys. Thank you very much.
So a very quick comment. After that we will break for have a dinner.
Well, I noted more than 12 points, including 4 last points. But I will not take all those issues. I thought of making very, very quickly some of the points there. There is a big difference between enrollment rate and dropout, enrollment rate and attendance rate. And what we have been concentrating is on enrollment rate, but not on attendance rate. While National Sample Survey gives some attendance rates in some contexts. And it's quite interesting if you look at enrollment and dropouts. If for a child is enrolled is by registering that he's going to the school, he's enrolled. Unless in writing you withdraw the student continues to be enrolled. He may not be attending, but he is not considered as a dropout. He is not non-attending but enrolled student in the school system. So there are some certain problems with the concepts that we are using that one should recognize very clear. Second, with respect to the pupil-teacher ratio, I agree with Professor Subramaniam very well. This is highly inadequate, and what we need is perhaps a teacher per class or much better ways. In the education bill, at least it was taken into consideration to some extent, and said that at least every primary school should have a minimum of 3 teachers. Plus a head teacher, and then you subject to this 1:35 or 1:40 considerations of pupil-teacher ratios. So there is some improvement, but still it doesn't provide for 5 teachers for primary schools and 8 teachers for upper primary schools. But what is happening in the context of the teaching system, the pupil-teacher ratios is, I do not know how biased is the literature on this. At least there is some literature which shows that a multi-grade teaching system which is prevalent in countries like India is found to be or argued to be quite efficient. Multi-grade teaching is a teacher teaches 2 or 3 grades almost simultaneously, also putting them together is found to be. There is a good amount of literature on multi-grade teaching coming up nowadays. third, as I said, I'll only bullet-like answers, I'll try to make it. The third is when we are speaking anything like education is good, education is development, I clearly mean that good, well-defined, good quality education. But today we have two types of education. Good education, good ideal education which doesn't exist, and perhaps bad quality education. So that's the reason why we have the problems. If somebody says that education produces crime, that's true if you look at the past, but if you start defining education as something good education, it's wrong. So we are saying that all good aspects are relating to normally defined good education systems, good quality education systems. So when we say education should be provided to all, it obviously means that education of good quality should be provided to all. We don't say that the same bad quality should be provided to all. I think I'll refer to two other aspects, two or perhaps three simple statements. One, I do not know whether we can have so many, for every level of education, because if you look at our states, in quite a few states, there are 4 ministers for education and 4 or 5 directors of education. I think if I remember correctly, very recently, government of Andhra Pradesh also split the school education into elementary education and higher education. Thinking. But that is not found to be really very good when you are looking at education in a much more holistic way. But there are 4 ministers and 4 directors quarreling with each other for resources because everybody has to champion their own cause. Competing as if I can survive at the cost of the other. Primary education can survive at the cost of higher education, or we don't need technical education, we don't need secondary education, but you have to provide something else. So, but we have to recognize that there are close linkages. You cannot have a good higher education system without good primary education, and you cannot have good primary education without good higher education. One point that came up very quickly is, of course, you need teachers, and teachers are provided by higher education system even for primary schools. There are strong linkages that one has to recognize very well. Then 2 other points. One, I make almost like a statement with respect to decentralization. What is actually happening is what he said. There is an abdication of the responsibilities by the state, by the government, under the name of decentralization, saying that people have to look at it. The lower levels of the government, the municipalities, the village education committees, the school education committees have to look after it, and the government need not do it at all. That's the kind of the whole approach, and that has resulted in one particular issue. Professor Subramaniam has referred to the abolition of inspectorate system. The village education committee will do it, otherwise somebody else will do it, but certainly not the government. So what has actually resulted in, under the name of decentralization in many cases, is I described as an abdication of responsibilities by the state. The state has to do it. The last point, again, I'll make a one-line statement, that even in the richest countries, which can afford financially otherwise, school education is completely the state education, government education. Even in those countries where higher education is highly privatized in the private sector, school education is completely in the government. Government financed, free education, compulsory education. So in that particular sense, if you want really good, strong school education system, elementary education, then to secondary education, the state is the best example to provide it. The state is the best one to provide it. At least that's what the international evidence very clearly shows. Well, as I said, there are quite a few other points, but I will not be able to take any more time. Thank you very, very much.
Before I call upon our student representative to propose a vote of thanks, I request Professor Subramaniam to please hand over a memento on behalf of the students to Professor Tilak. We are here for past 1 year and we have come across different problems and possibilities existing in the rural areas. We believe education is the tool with which we can capitalize on the possibilities and minimize the problems. So we extend our heartfelt thanks to you for making our convictions strong and clear. Being a practitioner and planner, you provided us an understanding of issues and policies involved that will light our way forward. Despite your sore thought, you took pain of taking keen interest in us. We are thankful to you. We are also thankful to Dr. Subramaniam for providing us additional inputs. We express our gratitude to Dr. Kumar sir and CPGS team for providing us such an excellent opportunity.